Okay, folks, Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy, coming to you today. This is the second vlog, and it will be something that I'll be putting on every Sunday at 6 p.m. So follow me here. Now, because of the response that I've received, as well as a lot of the questions I get on my YouTube videos, I'm going to go ahead and start doing a second vlog for the week, which will be every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. And the reason for that is there's just so much information that the consumer needs, and I feel that is important to them for making decisions. Now, for today, we're going to cover a variety of topics. One, we're going to be talking about modifications or extras, or maybe different options that are available for RVs. Two, we're going to be talking about solar panels. And three, we're going to be talking about putting your RV to bed for the winter. Now, I know it's kind of late for that for most folks, but this way here, maybe I can cover a couple of items that maybe somebody has forgotten. And let's start with the putting your RV to bed for the winter. So, folks, one thing, and it depends on whether you have a drivable or towable. Let's talk about towables. Towable is one of the most important things other than winterizing. And folks, winterizing your RV, the way that you winterize your RV is going to be different depending on what part of the country you live in. Obviously, if you live in a warm climate, there's not much you're going to be doing at all. However, in your colder climates, now I'm in Maryland. So for Maryland, and I would say Maryland North, and anybody that has this kind of a weather, we recommend that you blow the lines out first with air, and then you're going to be putting antifreeze through the lines. And the reason for that is you could blow the lines out, but if you don't get every drop, then that could be an issue. So number one, that is one thing you want, regardless whether you have a drivable or towable, anything that has a water system on it. And folks, a couple of things that people miss when they winterize is ice makers, washers, outside showers, your outside city water connection port, if you have an outside black tank rinse, outside sprayer port. Those are things that people overlook. So make sure that those are things that you don't overlook if you have looked in the future. For the future, I should say. The other thing is, if you have a towable, it is recommended that you take the battery out of the coach and bring it inside. Do not, put it in your basement or put it somewhere where it's not going to freeze. Now, if you put it in a basement, or even if you put it in a garage, although I would not recommend a garage because it could still freeze, but bring it in inside the home. Do not put it directly on cement. So set it on a piece of wood or something. Now, if you're able to, set it on a trickle charger, and one that's going to go ahead and just charge it up and keep it topped off. That is your best bet for your battery. Now, you're going to want to continue to check the water level on that battery on a monthly basis, even though it is not connected. Keep in mind also, whenever you check the fluid level in your batteries, folks, make sure you are not plugged in, and make sure that the battery is disconnected. You definitely want to, it's a safety thing, so make sure of that. Now, some other things you want to do is, of course, in the wintertime, folks, where do critters like to go? They like to go and to get out of the weather and so forth. And what are they looking for? They're going to look through your coach. So some things that you can do to keep them from going into your coach is, one, there's a number of different products that you can put around the outside of your unit. So you can go and sprinkle dried blood around it. You could take, if you had cats, you could take dirty kitty litter and put it in, scoop it into plastic bowls, put that in a few different locations underneath your RV. If it's a motorhome, inside by each of the wheels, that scent will keep critters from going under your RV. And there's some other things out there, folks, but just keep that in mind. You want to do something to keep critters from bedding down under your RV, as well as because if they're coming under your RV, obviously they're going to be going into your RV. Any holes that you may have, folks, I recommend either steel wool or aluminum wool, and spraying like a peppermint spray or a spearmint. What you do is get some type of natural oils, something along those lines, to keep the critters from coming in your RV. Some other things you can put. I would not recommend you put mothballs inside your camper, although on the outside it's fine. That does deter critters. On the inside, or even in your storage bins on the outside, you can put dryer sheets in where you have your appliances, such as your water heater, your refrigerator and such. You could go ahead and buy a flea collar, cut it in half and put one on inside either one of those. You know, one in your refrigerator area on the back side, on the outside, one on the water heater. And that, again, deters things. With your dryer sheets on the inside, folks, you can put those in your closets, inside your drawers. And it does two things. It's going to deter things, spiders and things of that nature, but it's going to have keep your camper smelling nice. I would also recommend that you leave all of your vents closed for the winter. It's okay to be leaving those things open in the summer if you have the max air covers on them and so forth, but during the winter, you want to keep those things closed. Also, if you have any slides, leave your slide outs in, folks, when you're not using your camper, because what that does, that keeps those seals protected somewhat. And when the springtime comes, we'll have one of these, and I'm gonna have some products with me and so forth, and we'll talk about things that you should be doing to get your RV ready to go camping. So hopefully that a little bit of information on what you should be doing to have your camper ready for the winter, or putting it down for the winter. Now, folks, if you are one of those individuals, I had a customer call me this week. They were going to be heading out of town in the next couple days. They had a motorhome. My recommendation to them was, first of all, keep the heat on in the coach. It was not a 4-season coach. However, what they were able to do was, I told them there were 2 different compartments on the outside that had access to the water heater, not the water heaters, but water tanks, the storage tanks. And I told them to put a little ceramic heater in both of those locations. One is where your sewer dump is, and then the other was on the opposite side where it had access, and it was open partially underneath, and one of the holding tanks was there, and I had them put a ceramic heater, thermostatically controlled obviously, in that area. They left the heat on inside, opened their cabinet doors, left the bathroom door open, and they were fine. And folks, we were in the negative, minus with wind chill and so forth, and they were fine. I have known people to actually use that, do that, and never winterize their coach. Just leave the furnace on all season long. Now, you got to keep in mind, make sure that you check on that propane and keep that filled up as well. So that's some information to help you get through the winter time with your RVs. Now, let's talk about solar panels. Folks, there is a misconception out there that solar panels, especially on your smaller RVs, teardrops, even travel trailers and so forth, that those are going to be able to operate any 110 items. Now, realistically, I mean, they can operate some 110 items, but it is not going to give you anything for a long period of time. And what it's doing is it's actually recharging your batteries. Then you're going to have an inverter connected to your battery system to run the 110. What you'll notice on some fifth wheels, folks, is that you have your refrigerator running running through the 110, through the inverter on 110 using battery power. The problem with that, now, when you have 2 batteries on your fifth wheels, typically from feedback I get from my customers is that you're going to have 8 to 10 hours worth of power. Now, obviously, having a solar panel or multiple solar panels will help that. However, the problem is you're going to be using that in the evening when there's hardly, well, there might be some sun depending on what part of the country is, or to little. So it's not going to be sufficient enough. Now, folks, as far as it running an air conditioner, in order for you to be able to run air conditioner, folks, you're going to have one heck of a battery pack on your coach. And you could do that when you have larger RVs where you can have 6 to 8 to 10 different batteries. But then you've got to keep in mind also, you're going to have the room on the roof in order to put enough solar panels to keep it charged so that you could use it. And you'll only use it for short periods of time because of that. So for your smaller RVs, teardrops, and your travel trailers, folks, solar panels are great for boondocking. They will extend the life of the battery. And if you're just using it for your lights and you're running your RV refrigerator on propane, so it's going to use very little power, you're going to be fine. You'll be able to have extended stays out there in the boondocks, wherever you'd like, as long as you have some sun. And, typically you're not going to be running your lights except for in the evening. So in most people at this point, you're out during the day. If you're out boondocking, you're out having fun during the day. So solar panels can be a great way of extending your stay in an RV if you want to boondock. What is it that it's going to operate? All your 12-volt power, which could be, you're going to need 12-volt power to run your refrigerator. You'll have a water pump so that you can use water coming through your water tank. You'll be running your water heater, and for most people, if they're going to have the newer style RVs, you're going to have the direct spark ignition water heater, which means that you're going to need battery power in order for that to start. If you're operating the RV in cooler weather, maybe you want to use the furnace. Well, the furnace is going to be a 12-volt pump for the air, for the fan, and it's going to be the propane that is going to be giving you the heat. So, and then of course your lights and so forth. So you're able to get out there and enjoy some extended time out there. On most of your smaller RVs, and when I talk RVs, I'm talking about your trailers, they tend to have typically 100 to maybe 250 watts of solar panels. Keep in mind, folks, it's all going to come down to how much room you have on your roof of your particular RV in order to determine how much of the solar panels that you can put on there. Now, I know that there's people out there that may be giving these solar panels bad names and so forth. And folks, it's like anything else. There are going to be issues because you're taking a house on wheels and you're driving it down the road. So things will come disconnected and maybe they weren't put in correctly at first. But for the most part, they do work and they do as advertised. Now for you specifically, folks, if you want to figure out how big of a solar panel that you want, make sure that you do there's calculations you can do. And listen, I know enough to be dangerous, and this is one thing I don't know the calculations, but I know where to go get that information if I have a customer that asks for it. But check with, if you are dealing with an RV dealership, their parts department should be able to get those calculations for you to figure out how much you'd be using to get you the right size solar panel for what you're looking for. Now, the last thing, I had somebody ask me last week about talking about modifications and options for RVs. Folks, I mean, I tell all my customers when we start talking about options and modifications, you have to look at, I guess, what the cost is going to be versus the benefit. A lot of times, for instance, I had a customer, they wanted to put enough solar panels on the roof of their RV, their motorhome, in order so they would not have to use their generator. Now they understood that they would not be able to use the air conditioner, but they wanted to use everything else. By the time that we got putting all the numbers together, they were talking about $7,000 to $8,000 for everything that they wanted to handle. It was quite an expense. So when it comes down to options, modifications, folks, I think you need to do a cost-benefit analysis for yourself. Sometimes it's just impractical. Now, if any of you have any specific modifications or options that you would like me to go into, I'd be more than happy to do the research on that and then break it down a little bit further for you. So I hope you enjoyed watching today. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll be having a lot of stuff come down the pipe. Check out my videos, and also I have a website I just put up last week, and you can check that out. I just have the link down here below. I'll be updating that on a weekly basis, and as I'd mentioned, I'll be starting a second vlog Thursdays at 7 p.m. Thanks for watching, and we'll come back at you again shortly.